Are we prepared for the word? Now, we have been dealing with facing or overcoming our mountains. Facing or overcoming our mountains. And I have listed the mountains that we are dealing with just as a point of rehashing. First, we dealt with the mountain of the adversary. The mountain of the adversary, and how oftentimes we have that enemy that is telling us what we cannot do. Amen. Then we dealt with the mountain of sin. Last week, we dealt with the mountain of unbelief. And now we're going to start 2 weeks dealing with the mountain of perception. Say perception. When we talk about a mountain, we are talking about anything or anyone that holds us back from God's will for our life. That's a mountain. Some of our mountains are self-imposed. Amen. Despite what we may want to say, because Lord knows when we get into hardship, it's very easy to point the finger. But despite what we may want to say, some of us are in the circumstance and situation that we are in by nobody else's fault but our own. Nobody put you there. We put ourselves there. We really have no one else to blame. See, you got quiet. You noticed that? We did it to ourselves. You can fuss and Facebook post and do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, we did it to ourselves. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm hearing direct from God, that's special. It's special, right? And so here it is. We got God speaking directly to Jeremiah. There are people in this room this morning who have been spending your entire life asking God, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Amen. And in one verse, God broke it all down to Jeremiah. You are a prophet. You're supposed to speak to the nations. But instead, Jeremiah responds to who? God. Not his friend, not his cousin, not his grandma. Jeremiah responds to God, the maker of heaven and earth. And Jeremiah tells God, I cannot do it. Not I will not, I cannot do it. Then he gives the reason, because I am a youth. As if God didn't know that. Now really pay attention. Say perception. Jeremiah's perception of himself caused Jeremiah to speak erroneously to God. Jeremiah said, because I feel like I'm a youth. Now listen, when we say I'm a youth, we're thinking that he's saying that he's just young, right? And he might have been young, but don't think like that, because it needs to come down our street just a little bit more. When Jeremiah was saying that he was a youth, what Jeremiah was saying is, I don't have the experience for the task. Okay. I'm not experienced enough for the task that you're calling me to. And there are many people in this room talking about, God, I'm going to do it after I finish this class. It's quiet. After I get this degree, then I'll do it, Lord. After I go to this seminary, then I'll do it, Lord. I got some other stuff I got to do. And God's like, wait. Are you trying to qualify yourself? Or do you believe that I qualify you? Because either you're called or you're not. See, the degree don't call you. Finishing the class doesn't call you. Amen. A certificate doesn't call you. You got to have the call, and then the certificate sharpens the call. The degree sharpens the call. The degree don't call. This is why I get confused by people who wake up, say they love God, want to go to seminary, and then all of a sudden they go, I've been to seminary, I should pastor now. You shouldn't. Because your seminary doesn't do anything. The seminary sharpens what's already in you, which means if there's garbage in you, there's going to be sharp garbage when you come out. When I graduated from high school, I got to get to my next point. When I graduated from high school, I went and I applied for a scholarship. And I was watching all the people come out, and I knew some of them. And y'all, my test scores were okay. They were just okay. Wasn't terrible and wasn't great. But I remember, I only scored a 23 on my ACT. 23. But the girl who went right before me scored a 34. I thought, this is a problem. It's 23, 34. This is difficulty. And so I remember sitting down, going through the interview. I got the scholarship. And I remember having a conversation with somebody after the scholarship was awarded. I said, can I ask you a question? Why'd y'all give me the scholarship? I said, I know some of the other people, they have better scores than me. Their GPAs were better than mine. He says, well, here's what we figured. Yeah, you're right. They had better scores. They had better GPAs, but they wasn't doing nothing else. We expect them to have 4.0s if they're not doing nothing in the community. We expect them to have phenomenal ACT and SAT scores if they have no extracurricular activities. We have expectations. See, he said, but you were doing all of these other things and still able to do well. Watch this. Watch this. Watch. The world expects a church to be able to do phenomenal things with a $10 million budget. The world expects you to be able to be successful when your mom or dad were successful and they left you a great inheritance. They expect you to be able to drive nice and live nice if daddy drove nice. See, nobody's gonna be surprised when Bill Gates' daughter has a private jet. Nobody's gonna be surprised. Nobody's gonna be all wowed out if Mark Zuckerberg's daughter lives in a multi-million-dollar mansion. Nobody's gonna be surprised by any of those things. And guess what? Because nobody would be surprised, it doesn't take faith in God. But here's what does take faith in God. When you came from nothing, you ain't never had nothing, you ain't never seen nothing, and all you know is Jesus, and the very thing that brought you out was Jesus. And it wasn't your money, because your mama didn't have no money and grandma didn't have no money, but everybody had Jesus. And before you know it, no, you didn't get no scholarship. You worked your way through school with 4 jobs and all you had was Jesus. You didn't graduate magna cum laude, you just graduated. I mean, you came out, you didn't have no cords, you didn't have no sashes, you was just thankful that you had a piece of paper. And then all of a sudden, now you got employees. You ain't there, you are now the employer. You got folk that tell you what they gonna do. You signing the checks. Come on now, this is how God does it. God has an amazing way of making your enemies your footstools. God has an amazing way of making little into much. God has an amazing way of taking what you said is impossible and making it possible. But the only way you can get there is you cannot deny who God said that you are. You got to have a better perception. You got to say who God says I am. I am the head. I am not the tail. I am above only. I am not beneath. I shall lend to many nations, and I shall not borrow. Instead, you saying stuff like, I can't do it because I didn't finish school. Some of the folk we worship didn't finish school neither. Bill Gates dropped out. Michael Dell dropped out. The founders of Google dropped out. Didn't finish. Now what you waiting on again? Huh? And all of those people that I mentioned, none of them are men of faith. Gates said God was irrational. So if Gates can drop out of school and say God is irrational and become the richest man in the world, and I serve God who owns all of his riches. What you think I'm entitled to? You mean to tell me that the only thing holding me back is me? And let me go ahead and get the super deep folks in the room right now. Let me get you a reality check. You cannot expect God to bless you and you got an allergy to work. Won't go to work, won't fill out a resume, won't even cut your hair, won't pull your pants up, won't shine your shoes, and you talking about God do it. God said you got to give me something to work with. He says if you are willing and obedient, then you eat the fat of the land. But come on now, you ain't shown me willingness or obedience. All you doing is complaining. You spend 28 hours all through the week, 28, 29 hours on Facebook scrolling. It's only 40 hours of work time. You got to work. Faith without works is what?